So it's been a long time ago, but it's okay. I still try to, to study, to learn about law of the sea by myself. And today I'm pleased to meet you all here, so I can refresh my memory, and then my also some basic theories, and then also development of international law of the sea. And then I think Arum would like to assist me, and maybe Lala to share the, actually this is the PowerPoint that already made by Professor Eddy. These materials actually already been discussed in the commemoration of Hari Nusantara, or we call it as Archipelagic State Day, to commemorate Juanda Declaration 1957. And this is actually the presentation by Professor Eddy Pratomo. I think on the 18th December. It's still quite new actually, and I think the perspective is still relevant in our discussion today. I think we can proceed further to the next stage. To Arum or Lala? I think you know Professor Eddy, right? In the left side is his career in the government as a director, and then director general, and then also senior advisor to the special staff of the Speaker of House of Representatives, Indonesian Ambassador to Germany. A lot of credentials from him, and then also nowadays he is still advisor to the Minister of Marine Affairs and Fisheries on the eradication of illegal fishing, and then also still it was also presidential envoy on the delimitation of maritime boundary between Indonesia and Malaysia from 2015 to 2018. And then on the right side is his credentials on the academic field. Now he is Dean of the Faculty of Law, University of Pancasila, and also member of the International Teachers Association. So I think it is, he is the correct or the right person for you all to learn about the law of the sea. But unfortunately today he is unable because he has previous engagements today. Maybe we can continue further. Next page, maybe for the introduction. Bu Arum or Lala? The outline is today is about Juanda Declaration. Juanda was Indonesian Prime Minister at the time. He was declaring that the Indonesia as an archipelagic state means that the drawing of the baseline is from the outermost point of the outermost islands of Indonesian archipelago. This is a very, very momentous junction at the time, the declaration, after we have a long struggle to gain international recognition, because before that, in the international law regime, we didn't know the regime of archipelagic state. At the time, we only knew that the law of the sea is only consists of water, fall under the what do you call it? Under the sovereignty of states, and then that fall below beyond of the what do you call it? Beyond the boundaries. It means that the international ACICIS or international water does not fall below, not fall in the sovereignty of states. And then we introduce the new concept during the during the negotiation of maritime boundary, during the negotiation of the International Convention on the Law of the Sea. That is actually in the third negotiation, the first negotiation in Geneva in 1957, and then the second one 1958, and then the third one started from 1982. That was the important turning point for Indonesia, that we gain recognition in the UNCLOS in chapter 4. There is a archipelagic principle. So this is the importance of Juanda Declaration. At that time, it's only a unilateral declaration, but after long and then long struggle to gain international recognition, and then we successfully gain the recognition by international society, international community, by states worldwide, and then it is also included in the UNCLOS 3 in chapter 4. So this is very important for Indonesia, the development of archipelagic state, and then already final, because already become a regime in international law. And then there is also archipelagic baseline when we draw maritime boundary, and then maybe we will also a little bit touch on the past, present, and future of maritime boundary negotiations. This actually Prof. Edi will be much better, I think, to explain to you. But I try my best, because Prof. Edi, it's only maybe 3 or 4 years ago he involved directly in this negotiation, and then also implementing maritime boundary negotiation, and then how to continue the Juanda legacy. I think we can continue further in the next presentation. Hello. Please, Bu Arum or Alala to
Ali
continue.
next.
Ali. Oh, Ali, yeah. Sorry. Please stand still. Next page, please.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I cannot hear clearly.
Right now, the connection.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is Indonesian map before Juanda Declaration. As I think you should know that before Juanda Declaration, our law regarding the sea is inherited from the Dutch colonial administration. It's called territorial maritime kringen ordonnantie in the Dutch language. We can see here that every island has its own territorial water. What does it mean? Means that there are many pockets of high seas in between our islands at that time. This is regarding the Ordonance 1939. And then so that's why Juanda made a declaration to enclose the outermost island by enclosing with the straight archipelagic baseline that I have already mentioned before. So after declaration and then after the UNCLOS 3, so all islands are enclosed with archipelagic straight baseline. Maybe we can continue with maybe the next maps, perhaps. Hello?
Yeah, my is really bad. It's unstable. I'm sorry. I will connection first.
Okay, unstable signal ya. It's okay, Ali. While waiting for Ali, I think I can give you some more little bit explanation that in the early development of international, as you know, there are two concepts of international law of the sea. First, introduced by Hugo Grotius, the mare liberum or open sea, freedom of the sea, and second one was introduced by John Sheldon from England. He introduced the concept of close sea or mare clausum. That is the first early development of international law. Yeah, this is that I have been explained before. You can see here before the declaration, it's hard for Indonesia, to maintain security, and then also difficult to justify political unity. When our first declaration of independence at that time, there are a lot of separatist movement, and then, as you know, in my first introduction, that every island has its own territorial water. So that's why it is not easy, to maintain political unity and also to maintain security. So that's why, based on the mostly political and security considerations, we and then declare that the Indonesian archipelago become a united country without any ACICIS in between the islands. We can continue, please. Yeah, this is the map that after the declaration of Juanda Declaration and after the inclusion of this concept in the UNCLOS 3 or UNCLOS 1982. So it is very much, beneficial for Indonesia to unite the islands from the west points, the outermost island in the west, and then until the eastern part of Indonesia, be it from the political and security, and also how to connect our economic integrity. That is actually the struggle from 1957 and then recognized in the UNCLOS 1982. So it's a very long struggle. Can continue, please. Yeah, and then with regard to the baseline, we can also draw the baseline from the outermost point of the outermost island. So the water inside regarded as internal water, but we have also rights to designate, for instance, right of innocent passage, and then we have also have the rights to designate archipelagic saline passage, and also we have to provide or to give traditional fishing rights and existing submarine cable for countries who have already had agreement with Indonesia before the introduction of the archipelagic principles. So we have rights, and also we have to provide international community. For instance, as I mentioned, in ocean passage, and then archipelagic inland passage, and then also fishing rights and existing submarine cables. For instance, in this regard, relating to Singapore and Malaysia, and also we have also some agreement maybe with previously with Philippines or maybe with Thailand regarding fishing rights. We can continue further. This is the maritime boundary of Indonesia. There are territorial sea delimitation, and then also EEC delimitation. There are also continental shelf delimitation. We have actually 10 neighboring countries who have to delimit our maritime boundaries from the west side. For instance, Thailand, and then also Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines, and Palau. Palau, I think, in the northern area of West Papua, and then with Australia, and then Timor-Leste, and also Papua New Guinea. But we haven't negotiated with East Timor or Timor-Leste because we should have first finalize the land boundary, because there is a something like principles. The land dominates the sea. So how to draw the delimitation of the sea must be drawn from the land. So that's why today we still discuss the land boundary negotiation, and we're still pending the maritime boundary with the East Timor. But we already started negotiation with Palau, and then we have already agreement with Malaysia, Thailand, and also I think we have three junction maritime delimitation on the continental shelf with Thailand and India on the western part. And then with Singapore, mostly territorial waters delimitation. And then with Vietnam also, Vietnam, and then with Philippines, Malaysia, and also Papua New Guinea and Australia. So we are still having a lot of homeworks to delimit, to delineate our maritime boundaries with our neighboring countries. And we have 3 land boundaries with Malaysia in, we call it Kalimantan, but Malaysia call it Borneo, North Borneo. We have land boundaries there. And then with Papua New Guinea also, we have land boundaries, and with East Timor. So we have 10 maritime boundaries with our neighboring countries and 3 land boundaries. Can we continue? So because we already recognized as an archipelagic country or archipelagic state, so we can draw the baseline based on the archipelagic strait baseline. So that's different. I think we understand that there are 3 different kind of baseline, including archipelagic baseline. So if we see at the Article 47, Indonesia employs a system of baseline that connects the outermost points of the outermost islands. I think I have mentioned previously. And then the waters inward of the baseline, including the waters within islands, regardless of the distance from the island, from the land, sorry, are considered as Indonesian waters. This means that waters between the islands fall within the full sovereignty of Indonesia, and then the EEZ and continental shelf, we call it, fall under the not sovereignty but sovereign rights. So we have only rights to explore or to exploit the resources in the AEC and also the continental shelf. For delimitation purposes, Indonesia cannot. It is not so clear in the. Can you just the last bullet points? Yeah. For delimitation purposes, Indonesia use every point on its baseline as base point to draw the maritime boundary. This is as set forth in Article 15, 74, and 83. Yeah, this is Article 47. I think, do we have Article 49? 49. I think I will explain to you about the Article 49 regarding the jurisdiction. 49. 49 is legal status of the archipelagic water. I don't see any here, but I will legal status of archipelagic waters as contained in Article 49. The sovereignty of archipelagic states extend to the waters enclosed by the archipelagic line, not in accordance with Article 47, as mentioned here, described as archipelagic waters regardless of their depth or distance from the coast. And then, number 2, the sovereignty extends to the airspace of the archipelagic water as well as to their bed and subsoil and the resources contained therein. So we have and also in the there's a bed and subsoil under the water. So this is what already mentioned in the unclosed. I think we can read yourself this article because very, it's. I think the important thing is, do you have Article 51? 51? No. I think you should try to read Article 41, 42, until 43. Because after we enclose our archipelagic waters, we have to also, as I mentioned also previously, also to provide or to give other countries, for instance, Malaysia and maybe Papua New Guinea also, traditional fishing rights. So everything that already in existence, we have also to respect, including the rights of innocent persons, Article 52, of archipelagic persons, Article 53. I think the rest of this article is also important, but maybe you can read yourself further. I think we can go further to drawing median line. This is very important in connection with the archipelagic waters, because if we draw the median line in the normal situation, the result of median line is like this. Because from the step A to step B, this is the way from the wall line, and then draw the line into the wall line.
Sorry, Park, I can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, okay. So this is the draw of the median line if this is not archipelagic waters, yeah. So the median line will come out like this. This is state B and this is state A. And then median line is equidistant from base point of each island. So if there is no archipelagic state principle, the median line will trespasses this archipelagic baseline. This is, I think, the old concept before the introduction of archipelagic state principle. Can continue, please. This one after the introduction or after the recognition of the archipelagic state, we should draw the median line by counting the existence of archipelagic baseline like this. And then median line is equidistant from every point on the baseline. So the median line over here does not trespass archipelagic baseline, right? So this is the difference after the introduction of the new, actually relatively a new concept because it's only internationally recognized in 1982. So this is one of the Indonesia's contribution to the international law of the sea by introducing archipelagic state principle together with, at that time, with Philippines and also Fiji. So this is very important for Indonesia in drawing our maritime boundary. Please continue. This is past, present, and future maritime boundaries negotiation. As I mentioned before, we have shared maritime boundary with 10 states, and then some delimitation on territorial sea, such as Malaysia, Singapore, Papua New Guinea, and Timor-Leste. For Timor-Leste, we haven't had any discussion. And then EEC with India, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Timor-Leste, and Australia. Continental Shelf, India, with Thailand, Malaysia, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Timor-Leste, and Australia. And also there is a possible boundary with Micronesia for continental shelf beyond 200 nautical miles, because it's still possible to claim 200 nautical miles, but we have to also give some evidence that this area still the natural appurtenance of the continental shelf of our countries. And then, as I mentioned also, 3 states shared land boundaries, namely Malaysia, Timor-Leste, and Papua New Guinea. Please continue. Actually, I have said before, so I'm jumping before come to this presentation. This is the 3 junction, yeah, between 3 junction delimitation on the continental shelf with India, Thailand, and Indonesia. With Malaysia, we have a lot of maritime boundaries, territorial seas boundaries, and also continental shelf boundaries. Over here also with Singapore, with Vietnam, also with the Philippines, Papua New Guinea, and with Micronesia. I think of around these sea areas. I think something like 3 junction also, like in in the area here, Indonesia, Thailand, and India, Indonesia, and Thailand. Over here, perhaps we still study Micronesia, Papua New Guinea, and Indonesia, and also Australia here. This is because no longer our territory is Timor, so there is some missing link here because it is now not under our sovereignty. Australia also because you have Australia here, Christmas Island, in the southern of coast of south of Java Island here. And then I think we have also, I'm not sure, maybe around this area, MOU box. Australia gives like access to the fishermen from Rote Islands to fish traditional fishing rights. We call it MOU box because the area looks like a box here. Maybe if you're interested in study further, you can try to find out what is the MOU box. And then there is also EEZ with Australia, continental with India, and then etc. etc. Can we continue, please? This is territorial sea with Malaysia, and then with Thailand, EEZ. I think we can go further because it's not. I have already mentioned before. RI Palau, maybe I'm not sure because I have not involved anymore. Actually, we'll discuss about the continental shelf and also EEZ, economic exclusive zones or fishery zones. And then with Philippines, we just settled. If not, I'm not sure. I think fishery zone or EEZ. I think we can go to the future negotiation. Maybe that's still pending. Yeah. Territorial sea with still some with Malaysia and Singapore, and the East Timor or Timor-Leste. EEZ with Malaysia, I think around this area in the Laut Sulawesi or Celebes Sea. And then with East Timor, yeah, for here. And then continental shelf with Malaysia for here around this area. And then again Timor-Leste, junction with Australia, and then with Philippines. After we already settled our EEZ, I think we still need to discuss further on the continental shelf boundaries. Proceed further, please. Yeah, challenges in this is the principle of maritime boundaries. This is the challenges. Once it's done, it's done. So fundamental change of circumstances cannot modify boundary treaties. Fundamental change of circumstances, maybe you still remember in Latin words, yeah. Rebus sic stantibus. Fundamental change of circumstances still cannot modify boundary treaty. In other treaty, I think we can modify treaty if there is a fundamental change of circumstances, but it is not applicable in the boundary treaty. And then this is also very important. It depends very much also on the political situation. Because if we negotiated maritime boundaries, it is full of a lot of technical and legal aspects. But at the end of the day, everything depends on the political decision. sometimes it is not hard, it is not easy, to convince the political leaders. When I was involved in the negotiation teams, we did a lot of something like studies and also some exercises, some choices, some options, and many also discussion, very much, in very depth and so also very comprehensive one. But whenever comes to the political leaders, they sometimes still very careful to choose, to opt the some choices that we already make studies or we have make very much comprehensive exercises, which is very important. But political situation is very decisive. And then also sensitivity of the issue relates to sovereignty and sovereign rights. Maybe you can research or make study about Sipadan Ligitan and Ambalat case between Indonesia and Malaysia. At the time, this is very sensitive issues, even though we never had these islands, but because we lost in the ICJ, and then as if we lost islands, that actually we never had it, because in law number 4, 1960, there is no any mention about Sipadan and Ligitan. Malaysia won because there is a change of title from the UK, from the former government, from the colonial power, the English administration before. So there is a change of title from United Kingdom to Malaysia. And then also a problem of interpretation and application of international law, especially UNCLOS, because in UNCLOS is only govern or set out the principles, but the detail and then also the more salient problems in the delimitation is not mentioned there. So that's why we normally also refer to cases that already awarded by, for instance, ICJ and maybe the court before ICJ. So normally we also refer not only to the UNCLOS, but also to cases that already awarded by courts. And then interpretation of special relevant circumstances, geographic configuration, role, and legal status of maritime features. That is, we call it half effect, full effect. This refers to arbitration with the South China Sea. Maybe you already read about this between the Philippines and China, that the arbitration award, I think it is not in favor of China, but in favor of Malaysia. I have a little bit, I have a brief note here about the ruling. It is the Permanent Court of Arbitration Award. I think there are 479 pages ruling, and was overwhelmingly favorable to the Philippines position, ruling several elements of China claims in South China Sea regarded as unlawful. There are three key findings of the ruling, include first, China's claim to historic rights and resources within its 9-dash line have no legal basis. And then the second one, none of China's claim land features in Spratly Islands are an island capable of generating a 209-mile exclusive economic zones. And then other important point is China violated Philippines sovereign rights by interfering with Philippine oil exploration activities, prohibiting Philippine fishing vessels, and then failing to prevent Chinese fishing vessels from operating, conducting land reclamation in areas when the Philippines enjoys sovereign rights to explore for and exploits natural resources. And China also regarded as violated its marine environmental protection obligation under UNCLOS by causing severe harm to the coral reef environment with its land reclamation activities and harvesting of endangered species. And then, of course, China response is not, reaffirm its territorial sovereignty and maritime rights. So cannot accept this award. And then it is very interesting how the tribunal's ruling might be enforced is an open question, however. It's very interesting case. I think we can move further. This is the uniqueness of maritime boundary delimitation. As you know, Indonesia and Vietnam, the negotiation was very long time. It took 28 years. And then also importance of a comprehensive understanding of legal, political, and technical aspects. Importance of developing human resource, sending personnel for international training. As for myself, also I was sent at that time to the UK I forgot the city, the northern part of England, and then important to pass on the institutional memory for negotiators, because in our case in the foreign ministry we always undertaking or undergoing a tour of duty. So we always change our personnel in the negotiation. And then the necessity to have a solid single national position, because we consist not only from the foreign ministry, but also from the hydro-oceanographic, and then from many different kind of ministries involved. So that's why we need coordination between all stakeholders at national level. Continue, please. So that's why we need, because this maritime boundary negotiation is very complicated and very detailed one, needs not only legal expertise and also some technical aspects, sometimes even historic aspects of the, for instance, islands or areas, something like that. So we should explore creative line that is mutually agreed, that is based on political consideration to achieve win-win solution, and then explore other avenues, third-party settlement, for instance, through arbitration, ICJ, clause, mediation, or conciliation. And then there are some also make professional arrangements between the parties, for instance, joint development, something like that. And then explore high-level track, special envoy mechanism, like Prof. Edi that already appointed by the president to deal with political option beyond legal and technical matters. This is the alternative option to seek breakthrough whenever not easy to negotiate, or if we come in a deadlock and the negotiation is going nowhere. Continue, please. Yeah. This is the important one, how to proceed further with maritime boundary negotiation. we should, I think, better we still will refer to the provision of the UNCLOS, particularly Article 47, and then also to continue in setting examples on maritime delimitation for other archipelagic states. So because this is new concept, I think we still don't have many cases with regard to the delimitation made by archipelagic state. There are approximately 20 states claiming archipelagic state status based on UNCLOS, including Philippines, Fiji, Maldives, Papua New Guinea, Bahamas, and Vanuatu, etc. But I read on a book that nowadays there are about 21 states claiming as archipelagic state status. I think will be some more would like to claim. I'm not sure as of today. Maybe there are some already claim as archipelagic states in many different areas. Continue, please. In the progressive development and implementation of the law of the sea, taking the lead in the following law of the sea related matters, drafting the legally binding instrument, and this is relating to biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, exploration and exploitation of international seabed area. In the UNCLOS, we have also articles or chapter containing the exploration and exploitation of the international seabed area. We have also already in Jamaica International Seabed Authority, ISBA or ISA, I'm not sure. International Seabed Authority in Kingston, Jamaica. And then problem of illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, as well fisheries crime, and then also SDG number 14, Sustainable Development Goal, conserve and sustainably use ocean, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. And then also mitigation of negative impact of climate change to the ocean, including the rising of sea level, coral bleaching, and ocean acidification. Continue, please. And utilizing marine resources to become maritime fulcrum or maritime access. This is introduced by our current President Jokowi, to become maritime access or maritime fulcrum through effective implementation of the Indonesian ocean policy. This is very important, sea land communication, and then also sustainable fisheries, protection and conservation of marine environment, and then changing the society paradigm to see a country from ocean perspective. For your information, during our perhaps the third president, Abdul Rahman Wahid, we established or we set up the Ministry for Marine and Fisheries Affairs. Before that, we didn't have any Marine and Fisheries Affairs Ministry, but we are then changed the society paradigm to see the country from ocean perspective, including the government. And then our development not only on the land-based development, but on the maritime or maritime-based development. So the perspective of the archipelagic state, and then we change paradigm, including the development and then also the progress in the maritime industry, maritime tourism, and also maritime human resources. This is nowadays becoming more important and important for our country. For Indonesia. Next, please. this is how to prepare our future generation. We should raise awareness among the Indonesian students and or public at large about the archipelagic principle, because we are a maritime nation, archipelagic state. And then we should also introducing Juanda Declaration in national curriculum. And then in the universities, providing ocean-related subjects or maybe also projects, and then also research, study to increase the ocean awareness. And then, of course, better funding for ocean-related research institution, and then also full participation in the global agenda on ocean affairs. I think that's all of Prof. Edi presentation, right? Or maybe still some more? Mas Ali? Is there still many more pages, or this is all of?
We still have three.
Three pages? Is it?
Three. There's another the presentation.
Sorry, Mas Ali, it's interrupted. Your voice is interrupted. I think that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. And I don't know whether we are now moved to the question and answer or further presentation by Joel and Ali. Bu Arum, or Bu Arum would like to add something?
Bapak, apakah ada is there any form of our final result from what we have discussed today, such as a joint report in research or writing or something that you want to share with us, maybe Tristan and Ashley?
So we have to complete a report like individually to submit at the end of the program on a contemporary legal issue. And we also have to write a weekly reflection of kind of what we've done each week as well.
Each topic or the whole topics that we will discuss?
So each week we just write a reflection of what we've kind of learned and any issues we had throughout the week. And then at the end of our program, we have to submit a 2,000-word essay on a contemporary legal issue.
And you do it by yourself, or you need help from the students, from us, maybe?
Well, so the report that Ashley was talking about, we submit it ourselves to our to the ACICIS staff members as a form of assessment for our participation in the ACICIS program.
Oh, I see.
So it is a sort of individual report, something from?
Yes. So we have to write an individual report.
Weekly?
Not so. That's a separate assessment. The weekly journal entry is just a very short reflection on what has happened in the week. It's not about research or it's about letting them know what was achieved in the week.
Anyway, do you need some confirmation from Universitas Pancasila, or just individual report from you to ACICIS? You don't need confirmation from us?
No,
don't think.
not confirmation, no.
Oh, okay.
But of course, if we write an essay on a topic that relates to our discussions, which I suggest we probably both will. We would of course love any feedback or discussions in addition to the discussions we have planned throughout the program, so that we can have a clearer understanding of what we choose to write about.
In the chat, I've sent you a screenshot of basically all we've been told that we have to do. So it's kind of quite an open.
Oh, we clear it.
So can we also receive the copy of your individual report, or it is?
I would be happy to give you a copy of mine once it's finished. If either of you are doing research into a particular topic, then I'd be very interested in, if you needed a help with research or anything like that, then I'd be interested in getting involved if there's anything you have that I can assist with. And I'm sure Ashley probably is too.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, Ashley and Kristen, because your submission to us is being internship program, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in our university, internship more like you, how do you call it? As a junior lecturer for our students. So maybe in next time we will like to invite you as our guest lecturer for our students and giving your perspective in international law.
Absolutely, that sounds brilliant. Very interesting.
Ya, Lala, ada program yang kampus Merdeka, Universitas Merdeka itu mungkin mereka belum tahu kan, Lala. Can you explain to them?
Ya, Bu, jadi sebenarnya dari program ACICISnya sendiri, mereka tuh membebaskan kita untuk menugaskan para mahasiswa ini ditempatkan di bagian HI sih, Bu. Jadi nggak cuma sebagai asdos, jadi mungkin kalau misalnya kita ada event atau program student exchange, kita bisa involve mereka juga untuk bantu kerja sama kita. Jadi sebenarnya bukan belajar sih, Bu, tapi lebih ke mereka kerja untuk kita gitu. Bukan kayak belajar gini, cuma karena kita bingung mau ngasih tugas apa, jadi ya kita bikin open discussion aja gitu.
Ya mungkin minggu depan atau next subject, next topic, we can ask Ashley and Kristen as the speakers ya, to ask to our students.
Iya, sharing inilah, sharing different perspective ya.
Yep.
So for the student, maybe for our next meeting, we want to present you as our guest to prepare or to make a public class, maybe warung with our students, and you can share your areas of law. Not only law of the sea, maybe other topics that might be interest for us. What do you think, Bu?
Yeah, perspektif in humanitarian law itu bagaimana, Pak Haris?
If I may give you some opinion about this. To make you not very much burdensome, perhaps if you have something like article, or maybe you have done some research projects, maybe you can share to us here, to Universitas Pancasila, maybe for the lecturers as well as for students here. For instance, you make research on criminal law or maybe trade law, something, and then you can share with us the results of your research project, for instance, to make you easier. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I think it sounds great. Yeah.
If you don't mind, Kristen and Ashley, we will arrange for you our students next week to attend your classes. Maybe Tristan first or Ashley first, who will teach. It's depend on your decision, and then Lala will arrange for us what kind of subject that you want to share with us.
Brilliant. Do you think it would be more interesting for the students if it related particularly to Australia? Or is there any preference on what kind of area it should relate to for your students?
It's all up to you, but maybe from Australian perspective for Indonesian law, or Australian perspective for international law.
Yep.
I think we are interested if you can introduce us about the Australian law instead. Yeah, maybe the Constitution of Australia, maybe other things about Australia. It will be very interesting, and we can know more about Australian law. So I think it's not that hard for you to present us about Australian law.
And as a comparative study with Indonesian law ya Lala. Jadi hukum Australia bagaimana, hukum Indonesia bagaimana gitu kan.
Yeah.
I think that's really good.
Yeah. Maybe Tristan or Ashley have made some research project before on what topics. If you have done before, I think it will be much easier for you. Just make a PowerPoint something and then present it to us.
Yeah.
Yep. And when do you propose this this takes place?
Next week, Friday as well.
Okay. And at the same time, are you thinking?
Jangan Jumat, Pak. Waktunya pendek banget nih kita.
We will ask Prof. Eddie for his schedule first, and then we will confirm to you. Maybe next week. So it's
next week, yeah. Sometimes next week.
Okay. But we'll aim for Friday. Is that right?
We are not sure about the time, but we will discuss it first with Prof. Eddie about the schedule and time. Okay.
Great.
So so we are confirmed that for the next our meeting about discussing about Australian law, right? And for our first discussion, is there any question, or maybe do you want to share something about our lectures today, or maybe from Joel and Ali? We know that you have a research about law of the sea. Maybe you can share with us any your ideas or everything.
Joel is writing about piracy, and Ali is now writing about the agreement between Indonesia and Timor-Leste.
Right.
That's good.
Very
I think Joel first will share about his writing, yeah, Joel?
I don't think, I think I'm just going to give a brief introduction about my research. So
Joel suaranya.
I am currently researching about a piracy that has been going for last decades in the Sulu Sea of southern Philippines. And I don't think I can give any comments related to today's lecture, because it only overlays some of the parts, and because the lectures from Bapak Haris today only explains about the general of the law of the sea, and then my research is going specifically through the Paratical Act. So the general brief introduction of the case is there are several cases already about Paratical Act that has been going in the Sulu Sea that damages Indonesia's and Malaysia's interest, especially the maritime activity in the water area of southern Philippines due to hijacking or and kidnappings actions from the Abu Sayyaf group, which is recognized as an international terrorist group. So that is my research, and I am currently halfway through. And maybe in the next event that we can discuss about it more if it touched with the practical issues. So that's about my research. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. That sounded very interesting.
And maybe Ali, you have anything you want to share with us?
I want to talk about my thesis. Right now, my essay is my topic is about the boundaries between Indonesia and the border delimitation between Indonesia and East Timor. We know that Indonesia is have 17,000 plus islands in Indonesia, right? Then we and the and East Timor is used to be part of Indonesia, and what I like to talk about in this is thesis is why this why the discussion about this boundary is getting it is take a really long time. And 2 weeks ago, I've met Professor Eddie and talk about it, and why we when I asked him about this issues, like why we take really long time to discuss the maritime boundaries between Indonesia and East Timor. And he said like uh, we 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 can continue we can continue the discussion because we can continue the agreement because we haven't finished yet about the land boundaries, and because of that we can continue uh, to discuss about agreement in maritime boundaries. And and the second reason is because of this pandemic we couldn't continue, and we still scheduling about the discussion. Uh, and the second and the second problem is we Indonesia should find the geographical map in uh, East Timor maps before 1975, because there's a lot of geographical changes in there, and that makes harder to finish the maritime and land boundaries right now. And I think that's all. It's about what my essay is going to.
Thank you, Ali. For Tristan and Ashley, maybe you have any question about our discussion today, maybe to Pak Haris about law of the sea. Any specific question, maybe, because this is our
freewheeling discussion.
Yeah. We want to discuss something here.
Maybe only small questions to Jul. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
sorry, you go.
Oh yes, please. Sorry, you first, please.
One thing I did find interesting while I was researching is the sink the vessels policy that Indonesia has, and its kind of legality within international law.
Indonesian shipping policy.
The sink the vessels policy.
Sink vessel policy, I think.
So any like illegal fishing, they would
Penenggelaman, Pak, penenggelaman
Oh.
kapal.
No, illegal fishing.
The sinking,
The
right,
sinking of,
Ashley?
oh yeah, yeah.
Of illegal fishing.
The Minister for Marine and Fisheries, yeah, last time.
The previous from the ministry, Ibu itu,
Bu Susi.
Bu Susi.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I think it was done before the previous Minister for Marine and Fisheries Affairs at the time, when there was a IUU, illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing vessel caught by the Indonesian authority, and then the policy was to sink the boats, yeah, the fishermen boats from, some of them normally from, if I'm not mistaken, from Vietnam and then from Thailand. That is, I think there is also the legal basis for the action that taken by the minister. Normally, if the caught in the territorial water was under the full jurisdiction of the government, of Indonesian government, but if they caught in the EEC is regarded actually as ACICIS, even though the marine resources and then also living resources there is under the sovereign rights of Indonesia. But if we caught in the EEC, it is not, I think, will be sung or will be sung by the minister. It is, I think, depends on where the boats were caught at that time. So I think everything must be based on the legal or the regulation that already in the existence, or the existing regulation. Is it answered your question?
yes, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question about President Jokowi. When he came into office, he had a maritime access doctrine, or poros maritim. Is that?
Yeah, poros maritim, correct.
Can you explain what this is about and how it works in practice?
Actually, the poros maritim or maritime fulcrum is introduced by President Jokowi. First of all, is because we are archipelagic states, so the connectivity between islands put very much as the something primary for our development. So the connectivity between the islands, have Joel or Ali before mentioned that we consist more than 17,000 islands across the archipelago, and it is not easy, to connect one to another. For instance, the development and then also the maritime transportation in the western part of Indonesia is very much developed compared with the eastern part of Indonesian archipelago. So that's why the presidents tried to connect all the islands, regardless of the development of its islands, to connect, and then to make us easier, to distribute economics, products, and then also commodities, and also the movement of peoples and the movement of goods across the archipelagos. So this is, I think, the maritime fulcrum that's very important for us, the maritime access. So we, as I think already mentioned also in the PowerPoint, we changed our paradigm from land-based development into maritime-based development. Particularly in the connectivity is very much important for our development today.
And so it relates, as you were saying in your presentation, to the fulcrum. How did you express it in your PowerPoint? That Indonesia becomes a fulcrum of something.
I think it is a little bit different with what introduced by China, yeah, like something sick. What China introduced, like something like try to refresh again the Silk Road, something like that. But for Indonesia, is more on the domestic, not like China would like to connect with other regions of the world, other area of this globe. But for us, is more importantly is from the domestic point of view.
Okay, since we're talking about China, can I ask how has Indonesia responded to the unlawful claims made by China in the South China Sea? And is it a particularly contentious issue domestically in Indonesia? Given how close Indonesia is to that area of ocean?
Yeah, first of all, we didn't recognize the claim made by China, and we do not want to negotiate with China because we regard that we have no any overlapping claim with China, and we don't recognize the 9-dash line with that already introduced by China. So that's why we also I'm sorry, we are not going to negotiate with China because in our opinion we have no any overlapping claim, or we have no any problem of delimitation with China, because China's claim as already awarded by the tribunal. The 9-dash line is there is no any legal basis in international law, including in the UNCLOS. There is no any concept of 9-dash line that all of a sudden came in the middle of the sea without any. There is no any line drawn from the land. So in the middle of the high seas, and then the claim as a 9-dash line. So that's why we don't recognize any claim by China. I think that is, you're right. The issue in the domestic claim is very sensitive with China, but we always try to convince the people that we are very firm towards in our position towards China's claim, and we don't want to discuss anything with China. And we try always from time to time to convince our people. And if there is any violation on the EEC, we always try to enforce our jurisdiction, our sovereign rights. That answering your question?
Yes. So people in Indonesia feel quite strongly that China shouldn't be making the claims that it's making. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm.
This is also our government position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how then? Because when I think about the Juanda Declaration back in 1957, it would seem at the time that was also in breach of international law at the time.
At that time, yeah.
So I find it interesting to look at the way that Indonesia views the Juanda Declaration and how we all now view the China claims to the South China Sea. Do you think there are any parallels there or any comparisons that should be made?
I don't think there is a similarity between the two concepts because if we look at the history of the development of international law of the sea, actually Indonesia claim at the time was based on a valid foundation. Because if you look at the fisheries case between England and Norwegian, if you remember that case, the I try to look at my notes. I think I still have one. Between Britain and Norway in 1951 that addressed the issue of coastal archipelago states with regard to the drawing of the baseline from which the territorial sea would be measured in such cases. And then at the time also there are some state practices that attempted to invoke the judgments of the fisheries case is awarded by the International Court of Justice. And then also there are some state practices, for instance, done by Cuban government in 1934. And then also Denmark also declared all archipelagic waters around the islands of Greenland to be archipelagic waters. And then some also in Latin America's states also proclaim the same thing. And then this one is based on the case that already awarded by ICJ and then also state practices. But in the case of China, there is no any single state practice before, and even there is no any case that awarded by the courts. So this is purely unilateral claim. But for Indonesia, even though at that time was unilateral claim, but it was supported by ICJ case and also some state practices. And then we gradually also negotiated through multilateral forum and then also through bilateral and then also regional negotiation in ASEAN and then with Malaysia, with Thailand, with neighboring countries. So this is very gradual at the time until it is adapted into multilateral treaties. But for China, it is coming from nowhere, come out of the blue, and then just claim 9 baseline without any previous cases or maybe previous state practices. It is so much different.
Mm-hmm. Could you quickly just repeat the name of that fisheries case?
Britain and Norway fisheries case 1951. Awarded by ICJ. This is very important. I think this is the first one case made by ICJ referring to the how to draw straight baseline. At the time to enclose the Norwegian that the islands is deeply indented and then cut into. It is not a smooth baseline. So that's why Norwegian tried to enclose like what happened in Indonesia's case. So that's why we follow this example at the time. 1951, yeah, this is awarded by the ICJ.
Thank you. I'll look into that. That sounds really interesting.
Yep. Any more questions?
I have another one if no one else wants to ask.
Yes,
okay.
Please.
I was wondering about how you view Indonesia's positions on the Council of the International Seabed Authority and the Council of the International Maritime Organization. Are you particularly aware of those positions that Indonesia holds?
Yeah, actually, Indonesia also very actively involved in both organizations. In the Seabed Authority in Jamaica, also we frequently send a delegation there. And I myself once already went to Jamaica to join the meeting. And then I think this is also in the UNCLOS is one of the new concepts, not only archipelagic states, but also this area Before that was not governed by UNCLOS. And then this is also a reflections of new development of international law that, as you know, that the early development was normally developed in the European perspective from Hugo Grotius and then John Sheldon and then etc. etc. And then in the current international law of the sea development, there were many contributors from developing countries like Indonesia by introducing the archipelagic states principle. And then the area, I think, was introduced by Ambassador Arvid Pardo from Malta. He was introducing the concept of common heritage of mankind. So area cannot be owned by any single state, but must be explored and exploited for the benefit of humankind. So that's why, and then it is included in the UNCLOS 1982, UNCLOS 3, the area, I think, I forgot the chapter, maybe chapter 11 or 13, governing the area, and then also the establishment of international seabed authority. So that's why Indonesia very much support the establishment and also the activities of the area, even though at that time there was a bone of contentions, yeah, among the developed countries and also the developing countries regarding the transfer of technology and also the exploration and exploitation of the area. So that's why, and then there is a like new agreement, like to little bit modify the articles of the area to accommodate also the developed countries that acceptable to the both between developed and developing countries. Indonesia support very much the International Seabed Authority and also the IMO, International Maritime Organization. When I was in London, I was also involved in the meeting of the IMO, and it is very important for the maritime transport and also for the protection of maritime environment and also for the maritime security and safety. So, and Indonesia also has submitted the archipelagic sealant passage to the IMO. I'll check my notes. When was that? Yeah, Indonesia already submitted archipelagic sealant passage in June 2002. We already submitted the archipelagic sealant passage in the archipelago under August 1996. Indonesia claimed archipelagic status enabling legalization post. Yeah, we are actually already submitted the archipelagic sealant passage also to the IMO. Sorry, in May 1992. So this is very important also for Indonesia. The Indonesian role also very active in every meetings in the IMO. And then also when there was an accident in the Montarakis in the Timor Sea. Montarakis, I think, is a company which explore the offshore oil drilling in the, I think, the water of Australia, Northern Australia, and then also polluting the water around the Timor Islands, including Indonesian islands. At the time, we also bring this case also to the IMO for their attention. So we regard the IMO and ISBA, Seabed Authority, very important for us. That's my answer.
Very, very interesting answer. Thank you. So you say that it's a very productive use of diplomatic resources to have Indonesian officials involved in these councils.
Yes, yes, correct. We actually active in almost every international organizations, including the UN in New York and then in Geneva for human rights, for labor, for health, including this situation, COVID-19 pandemic. Also, we are very active in negotiating the access of the vaccine for all countries, not only for the developed countries. Any more questions, please? Maybe Ashley or Bu Arum would like to add something? Or Mbak Lala?
Yes, sir. I just want to make a confirmation. So next week, both Ashley and Tristan will give their speech or lecture to our students, right, about Australian law. And then we can have copies from your reports as our documentation. And then, as you know, maybe we will publish every meeting that we made, and we publish it in our account, YouTube account. So
YouTube
every
account?
week,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, IG account too.
Yeah. So every week you can see our discussion on our Faculty of Law account, YouTube accounts.
Okay. How do we access that?
We will give you a link. We will give you the link, and maybe both of you didn't know, I have been appointed as a person in charge for our discussion. Our Vice Dean first, the academic affairs, appoint me as the person in charge for this discussion. So you can contact me if Lala may be busy or cannot respond to you. You may contact me directly.
Thank you. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
In terms of next week for like presentations, do we know kind of roughly how long you want them to be, whether they're like 30 minutes, an hour?
Usually 15 or 30, Lala. Lebih baik 15 atau 30 menit.
I think 30 minutes, or I think it's up to you if you want to make it 15 or 30 minutes, and we will have a question and answer session too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So between 15 and 30 minutes?
Yes, and we will have
Yeah,
as our main speaker to have a welcoming speech before you present the presentation.
Okay.
Great.
Is there any more question for you to ask? Maybe to Diana about our discussion today?
I don't think so. Would it be possible to have access to the slides that Paris has used?
Yeah, I write my phone number and my email address on the chat. You may contact me, and I will give you the PPT today, our PPT today, to your email address.
That's good. Very
Is it
good.
okay for you, Tristan?
I'm not sure. What am I meant to see? I can't see what in the chat. You mean?
In our Zoom meeting chat, I'll write my phone number and my email address. So you can contact me and asking me everything that you need about today's presentation from Pak Haris.
Perfect. Good plan.
there any question for Pak Haris, maybe?
I think I've had all my questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you for your active participation. Ashley, you want to ask something?
Pretty much Tristan ended up asking all the other questions that I had anyway, so it's already covered.
Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, Joel, I just want to ask you a question regarding your, is it a research or thesis or
Is it
project?
It's my thesis project.
Thesis, yeah.
Yes.
Because if we read on the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, there are two different kind of concept: armed robbery and piracy. Armed robbery, if it is committed in the territorial sea, but if the act, the crime committed on the high seas, we call it as the piracy. So you briefly mentioned about the piracy. Yeah. So you only limit on the high seas or also including in the territorial waters?
The case in Sulu Sea happens on territorial waters because there's no high sea area in between Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. So I will consider to use the armed robbery, but
Armed robbery, yeah.
yes, and there are also kidnapping acts from those perpetrators.
So you look at it from the criminal law point of view or from international law point of view?
I'm still working on it, but the goal of my research is to find whether Indonesia could measures against those acts because it damages their interests, especially their Indonesia's nationals. So whether Indonesia could take measures for those criminal acts that is happen in another state's territory.
Okay, transnational crime, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Bu Arum. And then what are we going to do then?
I think we have will join us.
Siapa
Apa,
Lala?
Lala?
I think Prof. Edi will join us.
Oh,
Ada
really?
Bapak. Oh,
Wait for Prof. Edi to join, yeah. Please be patient, ladies and gentlemen. I think it won't be long, Prof. Edi. Hello, Prof. Good afternoon, Prof.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. Good to see you again.
Yes, with pleasure. I'm in my car,
Very good.
back home from campus.
Oh, I see. On the way home.
Yeah.
We just finished my presentation, and then Ali, also Joel, and then also question and answer, sir.
Oh,
That's
very good.
Very lively discussion. Very interactive one.
So the two students from Pancasila University
Correct.
are also joining the program.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I've just finished my Zoom meeting with Pajajaran University.
Okay.
So the topic is very interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting, sir. I use your PowerPoint, sir.
Very good. That's very good. So you are really a lecturer of international law, especially the law of the sea, because your thesis is also on the law of the sea, kan?
Even though a little bit rusty, sir.
He wasn't rusty at all, Professor Eddie. It was very impressive and it was very interesting.
Thank you.
So how did you find it, Trista?
I really enjoyed it. And I particularly enjoyed learning about the Declaration of 1957
Yes,
and how
the
that,
Juanda declarations, yeah.
yes. And I think it's a good example of Indonesia leading the way in international law making.
Yep.
Yes.
Because as we know, the Philippines and Fiji as well benefited a lot from Indonesian initiative.
Yeah. Yes,
Yes.
correct.
It was great. The Indonesian delegation was headed by Professor Muhtar Kusumatmaja and Professor Hasim Jalal. And Indonesia was among the leader to introduce the new law, especially from 3 nautical miles to 12 nautical miles of the territorial sea at the time.
Oh yeah, sir. And then next week, Tristan and Ashley would like to also make presentation based on their maybe research project, something to share with us.
When that going to be the presentations?
Minggu depan, Pak. Minggu depan
Minggu
mereka
depan, ya?
gantian jadi dosen. Karena mereka kan submitnya internship, magang. Jadi mereka
so they have,
gantian.
why don't you speak in English? Why don't you speak in English? They are listening to us.
Yes. Sorry. So next week, they sorry, Ashley.
It's okay.
Hello, Ashley. How are you, Ashley?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah.
Good.
So next week, their turn become lecturers giving their speech about Australian law, and we will arrange our students from international department to attend the class.
Very good.
That will be good. So you will be going to invite
the students
from the university of us to join the program, yeah, next week.
Yes.
That would be great.
Very much welcome.
Very much welcome. So we exchange, not only exchange students, but exchange lessons and experience and best practices among both parties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, Indonesia and Australia is very close neighbors, and we have a very good relationships. So we need to have our relationships not only at the level of government but also at level of students. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Great. What will be the topic?
Australian law.
Australian law.
Australian law, yeah.
Australian law. Yes. So that's very, very big and important topic then.
Oh yeah, if I may suggest, Tristan or maybe Ashley, when I studied at Monash University, I learned about Australian in international legal order, something like that. If you can also just refresh maybe my knowledge about this, what is the new about this Australia in international legal order or something like that. Maybe refugee law or maybe immigration law, anything. What do you think?
Do you mean for the topic of our presentations next week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're particularly interested in refugee law, is that right?
Yeah, I think this is also important topics for us because as all of us know that the Indonesia now has become a transit before the going further to your country, to Australia. Maybe we can share experience as the destination country and Indonesia as a transit country, something like that.
Yep. Yep. I will note that down and find an interesting aspect of refugee law. That sounds actually very interesting.
Thank you.
Yes, and Australia also a party to the Convention on the Status of Refugee of 1951, I think. Is that right, Tristan?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, then we'll be listening very carefully next week while having a cup while having a cup of coffee in Indonesia and a milk in Australia.
I will, sir.
Yes, please.
Prof,
Yes, please, Lala. How are you?
Prof,
Yeah.
how many students that
Yeah.
should
When?
attend?
As
Prof, how many
much as
students that-
possible, as much as possible, especially students from international law department.
Yeah.
Okay, well noted, sir.
So that would be great, I think, for students of University of Pancasila to join the program, and we listen very carefully to practice on how law in actions, especially on behalf of Australia, in dealing with the refugee who are coming from Indonesia as a transit country, because there will be a very specific policy taken by the government of Australia. We need to cooperate very closely because both of us are having humanitarian grounds to assist those refugees or those asylum seekers from other countries that are in conflict. Tristan and Ashley may give us some experience related to the law in Australia. Yeah, Tristan and Ashley.
Yes,
Would you
that's
like us, would you like us to both to do different takes on refugee law, or would you like us to do completely different topics?
Yeah, you may take also other different topics if you wish. So that would be no problem for us, as far as we can study from the Australian perspective, especially the perspective of the student of Australia.
Yeah.
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 yes.
Very good, Prof.
Perhaps
Okay. What will be the date next week?
Oh, we will.
Prof, I think it's better if we can adjust with your schedule so you can join us and maybe you can give a welcoming speech before we start our
Yes.
presentation.
All right. Friday next week would be what date is that?
Is it okay for if we will arrange it on Thursday, sir?
Thursday, what date is that?
Thursday is
Thursday next week.
21,
Yeah.
20 January.
21, 22nd.
21. 22nd is on Friday.
Yeah, it's okay. 21st is okay for me. You tell my secretary to block the 21st of January, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And the PIC next week would be Dr. Candidate Arum.
Yes, sir.
Associate Professor.
Associate Professor.
Yes, sir. Or maybe, Ashley, can you give us your perspective in criminal law, since I already read your CV. You also bachelor in criminology. Is it right?
Yeah, I can do criminal law.
Yeah, that's interesting. Criminology.
Criminology is very important also for us in Indonesia.
Yeah, maybe an Australian perspective about criminology. You want
Yes,
to
criminal law.
Criminology or criminal law?
Criminal law, maybe, or criminology?
I can do either.
I think criminal law.
Criminal law is okay.
Yes, criminal law is better, a bit more general for us who are not taking the criminal law so far. But we need to know more about your policy in criminal law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Prof,
Okay then. Yes.
want to give you a little bit the report of our discussion today. we were discussing about law of the sea, especially about the maritime delimitations, and
Yeah.
also discuss a little bit about the South China Sea case, especially
Yes.
the China claim the 9 days line that you are expert about that. Maybe do you want to
Yeah.
share a little bit about the case?
No, I think Paris is very professional and he knows very
Yeah.
clearly about the South China Sea situations. Only my point of view is that China has no legal basis to claim the South China Sea. It is very important for all us to know the situations because there are 5 claimant states, not including Indonesia. So we need to settle the case under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. So we do not entertain the claim actions by other countries without any legal basis. That is the position of Indonesian government and the peoples of Indonesia. So that is my summary on the law of the sea related to South China Sea.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Harris already delivered the presentation and already answered all the questions from students. He's very good.
Very good. That's good. So we need to have also more support for the Australian governments, especially to the position that is taken now by Indonesian governments. We cannot entertain any claims on the basis of historic claim and on the claim which is not under the international law. Yeah. So Tristan and Ashley will very much understand the position that is being taken by government of Indonesia.
Definitely. And the Australian government is very much taking the same position and has the same perspective on the issue. I think
Very good.
Indonesia and Australia are very much aligned on that aspect.
Yeah. We never discuss the claim on the basis of historic title. During the story of the adoptions of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea in 1982, there was no discussion related to the claim that is now being introduced by certain quarters, namely the historic title. It is not recognized by the international law conventions. So Australia and Indonesia are in the same view on this very important issue on South China Sea.
All right, thank you, Prof, for your summary. So,
excuse me, Lala, I would like to, if I may, Prof.
Yes, please.
Because we are going to have a series of international webinar.
Yes.
Under your permission, if Tristan and Ashley would like also to join us, if they have time, is it?
Yeah.
If it is possible.
That would be a great idea. I think once we know each other, I think next time, at any given time in the future, I think we need to collaborate with students, not only at the level of governments, then we have also a good relationship between the students from Australian University and Indonesian University. That is the intentions of how to improve and strengthen the bilateral relationship between Australia and Indonesia.
Yeah, so the participants are not only from Malaysia, Thailand, and Korea. I think it's also better if there are also from Australia for the next international webinar.
That would be great. Great idea. We cannot but fully support this idea.
Thank you.
May I suggest, Pak Haris, because these students are now getting internship with us. Why don't we take them to get involved to us as the committee as well? So
Yeah.
they're not just participating, but got involved into the program.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, just participate. Yeah.
Yeah, not only participating but also acting as a member of the active committee who is going to be established, namely Indonesia Australia Students Organizing Committee. Yeah, good lah.
Yes, I think Bu Arum as the next PIC will give you explanation about our international webinar, and you will have some assignments for that.
Yes, the international webinar will be held in February around 18 or 20.
Yes.
And then we will discuss about the topic that we have choose is humanitarian law about human trafficking, trafficking and illegal smuggling, Prof.
Human trafficking and people smuggling is very relevant to our both countries.
Yes, and then the term of the tornya Pak.
Yeah. Term of reference.
Yes, terms of reference still on progress. I will give Ashley and Tristan also
to share the views.
Yes.
To finalize the term of reference for the international webinar to be held in February. Yeah?
Yes, and maybe Ashley and will invite their friends or their students to attend our webinar.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
So we can declare the international webinar as our collaboration, not only Indonesian, South Korea, Malaysia, Thailand, but also with Australia.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
Sounds very exciting.
Tristan and Ashley, are you both in agreement with our ideas?
I think it sounds like a great idea. Very exciting.
Yes. Good. This is one of the very important internship program to collaborate of having international seminar, inviting other countries, students of other countries to join our program. Yeah.
Very good, Prof.
Good.
Well, okay. So we already spent more than 2 hours for our first meeting today, and we already have some assignments for you to be done next week. And well, thank you so much for this meeting today, and thank you, Pak Haris, for your presentation and lectures today.
You're welcome.
Arum, and thank you our students that join us today. And for the other things like international webinar, maybe Bu Arum will give you the term of reference once it finished to you, to your emails. And for the, we can confirm maybe tomorrow or 2 days after the time of our second meeting that will be held on next Thursday. Okay. So,
what time, Lala? Thursday at the same time, 3 o'clock something?
To be confirmed. To be confirmed.
Okay, to be confirmed. All right.
Yes. All right. Thank you for today. So maybe
for both of you.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Bu Arum, Tristan, Ashley, Lala, Jul, Ali, Pak Edi.
Thank you, everyone. It was very interesting. I'm very excited.
Thank you. See you next week.
Have a good one.
Tristan and Ashley. Bye.
That's it.
Have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Bye.
The last time you know we're gonna find you. Sick in the car, sick 'cause you're